Welcome. I am a lay Shin Buddhist who nevertheless maintains an interest in the broader realm of Pure Land and Mahayana Buddhist teachings. My YouTube channel is called Akala Akala, that is A-C-A-L-A, A-C-A-L-A. In these podcasts, I make a non-scholarly, humble, and sometimes bumbling attempt to explore a particular topic or question related to the wonderful Buddha Dharma. I hope you find them to be of interest. With that said, let us begin. So I'd like to go on in this podcast episode with a focus on a further recitation and discussion of Reverend Tsuji's profession of faith, in which he says in Article 1, "The main object of all sentient beings is to turn from illusion and attain enlightenment. All Buddhist schools of thought embrace the same goal of enlightenment, but differ in their method of attainment. In the schools that emphasize meditation, a person must meditate and purify his or her mind until it becomes pure as the mind of Buddha. In the school that considers practice and good works to be the primary task, a person must accumulate merits through good deeds and bring them to perfection. In both of these methods, a person must increase his or her stock of merits by their own power until they reach Buddhahood. The Primal Vow of Amida, on the other hand, is primarily concerned not with those who have the capacity to meditate and practice, but with those whose abilities are so finite and weak that they can never hope to attain Buddhahood. It was just for such beings that Amida, realizing the sad plight of people, made the 48 vows, and especially the all-compassionate 18th or Primal Vow. However, his meditation and practice would have been indeed futile if the goodness resulting from his compassionate work did not somehow reach the hearts of all sentient beings. Amida therefore put the entire results of his labor of love into the sacred name, Namo Amida Butsu. Thus, this Nembutsu is the embodiment of purity, truth, goodness, beauty, wisdom, and peace. In other words, it embodies all the highest values and qualities, both conceivable and inconceivable, which Amida was able to perfect in his infinitely long period of meditation and practice. So, when Reverend Tsuji says that the main object of all sentient beings is to turn from illusion and attain enlightenment, it's a reflection of the sense in which I view Buddhism as a universal religion. The main goal, then, ultimately is Buddhahood. As Reverend Tsuji says, all Buddhist schools of thought embrace this same goal, but they differ in their method, and he outlines here really some of the key different methods, namely one being meditation, which is sometimes referred to as the Dhyana school or the Chan or Zen school, the meditation school. And meditation is a very powerful methodology that can help a person to break through this dualistic way of thinking and perceiving reality in order to have a greater insight into the true nature of reality and thus attain a more enlightened perspective. So meditation, which Buddhism is very much associated with, even in the minds of many lay people who may not have a lot more knowledge about Buddhism, is again a key approach within certain mainstream schools of Buddhism. And of course, the idea of exercising practice and the performance of good works is a reference to the precepts, of which there are several within Buddhism. Following precepts is certainly a fundamental approach within the earlier form of Buddhism, the Theravadan school, where if someone wants to become a monk or a nun, there are a whole bunch of precepts. But there are basically 4 or 5 that are common to all schools, namely things like the standard sort of prohibitions on killing, stealing, lying, inappropriate sexual behavior, and use of intoxicating substances. But the performance of these more difficult approaches to attaining enlightenment are referred to as a difficult path, a holy path, a path of sages, which is in contrast to the Pure Land path. So Reverend Tsuji here is talking about the primal vow of Amida being primarily concerned not with those who have the capacity to meditate and practice, but with those whose abilities are so finite and weak that they can never hope to attain Buddhahood through these various practices. And that certainly includes the vast majority of the population of the world, including myself. So the question is, if Buddhism is designed as a system of universal salvation and is based on a sense of compassion grounded in wisdom, how are most people to be provided the benefits of Buddhism as a religion if these practices are not doable by so many in the population? And again, that's where we come into the Pure Land approach, which is an easy path. And as Reverend Tsuji says, it was a path that Amida established out of compassion by making his 48 vows, and especially the 18th or Primal Vow. And that's the vow that Shinran Shonin, 13th century Japanese Dharma master, primarily hones in on, where the Bodhisattva Dharmakara essentially makes the vow that he will not become a Buddha unless he can study all the Buddha lands in the universe and create one that is a land of bliss, a land where anyone can be reborn by simply thinking about him, by entrusting in him, as I indicated in the last podcast. And the question becomes, how did he accomplish this? Well, the way he accomplished it beyond simply making the vow was through his good works and through his meditational kinds of approaches. In other words, he put in eons of work, so the story goes, to accumulate merit. This is a concept within Buddhism, the accumulation of merit by doing good works. And he put in, again, many, many, many eons, or kalpas, as it says in the sutras, of good works in order to accumulate merit. And then the key is this: Buddhism has the notion that merit can be transferred. So Dharmakara, in effect, the way he accomplishes the nullification of our bad karma or negative karma is by transferring to us his good merit, which then gives us the capability of being reborn in that Pure Land. In other words, attaining Buddhahood quickly, rather than having to sort of go through lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of gradual improvements in order to refine our character to the point where we can become a Buddha on the basis of our own self-effort. So as Reverend Tsuji says, that Amida, when he was the Bodhisattva Dharmakara, quote, put the entire results of his labor of love into the sacred name, Namo Amida Butsu. So he embedded within the name this power, within the phrase Namo Amida Butsu, this power that by saying the name and thinking of him, that this is the ticket, so to speak. This is the way that a human being such as ourselves, who doesn't have the capability of doing meditation or performing good works in a consistent long-term way, so that by reciting this phrase, Namo Amida Butsu, we have this gift, this ability through what Amida Buddha is giving to us to be able to travel crosswise, I believe, as Shinran says, to have a methodology for our passage to the Pure Land of Bliss, which in Shinran's terms, and we'll get into more about this in a future podcast, we essentially immediately become a Buddha. So as Reverend Tsuji says, this name, Namo Amida Butsu, quote, embodies all the highest values and qualities, both conceivable and inconceivable. And here again, this term inconceivable that I've said that I am so attracted to, because it again relates back to the fact that we don't have the capacity with our thinking mind to get a handle on, to understand this whole dynamic with concepts. We can create concepts. We have concepts. We have a story. We have a basis for understanding in terms of the story of Dharmakara and his transfer of merit to us, and the power of the 18th vow, which he generated in his interaction with the Buddha Lokesvara Raja, and through his, as Tsuji says, infinitely long period of meditation and practice, which he then transfers to us as a gift so that we can attain rebirth in the Pure Land. But this whole dynamic is inconceivable. So it is, at the end of the day, as I said in the previous podcast, strictly a matter of faith. And in that context, I will say Namo Amida Butsu. With that, I will sign off by reciting the Nembutsu in gratitude for being embraced and accepted just as I am by Amida Buddha, never, never to be abandoned. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.